to Downsview Park, the bunker in Toronto, Ontario, Canada for game number 2 of our doubleheader. I'm Captain Lou Bammo, calling the game. Word that perhaps Mr. Johnny Caput, the founder and owner of Canuck Derby TV, may be wending his way to the bunker through Toronto traffic. An announcer on for game number 2. We're getting some equipment checks being done by the referees before we get announcements. You will be watching the Bay Street Bruisers from Toronto Roller Derby. They are in the navy and gold with gold ties against the Royal City Roller Girls Bootleggers. They are in the green and the black pinstripes wearing ties. But I do find it interesting that once again we are getting the battle of the paraphernalia on the front of shirts, ties versus suspenders. This game number 2 on Saturday, October 22nd, 2012. The Bootleggers are the travel team, the A team from Royal City, made up of the best skaters in the last little while, and have had skaters who skated in the first game as well. So we'll have to see if fatigue is a factor. The Bay Street Bruisers are the B team, B travel team for the Toronto Roller Derby. Lots of skaters go to the Bruisers to get additional travel experience, get additional skill set practices so that they can improve. Some of them wish to graduate to the CN Power, the travel team. The others very happy to play on the B team. The Bruisers have had a very good first year in existence. I'm seeing Johnny Caput in the audience. I'm going to see if we can get him on the microphone at some point in time. And handing a microphone to the master himself.
Is it on?
I believe you are on, Johnny. So this is a rare...
Calling this bout with you?
Yeah, you can if you want, Johnny. You can also just sit and drink beer, that's fine. But yes, the founder of Canuck Derby TV, where hopefully you have been watching all night long, standing here in the bunker. And yeah, Johnny has been in town, I believe, for a trade show.
We're at the National Women's Show at the
we are very lucky to be graced by his presence. I enjoyed yeah, you know, I enjoyed spending the first day of Eastern Regional Championships in Vermont with Johnny as we watched Montreal go down and defeat to London. And then I had to drink beer all weekend long by myself.
Yeah, I only caught the Friday game, so I had to come back to another convention.
So we're going to get introductions underway. I'm going to take the Bootleggers out of Royal City Roller Girls. Guelph, Ontario. Number 1 is Babe Lestrange. She's actually number 100, but you know, that's sometimes we get the incorrect information. Number 14 was Brass Balls, Stabby Road. Number 17, Forza. Number 1910, the Hellcat of Panar. Number 27, Mangles, the Clown. Number 38, Hot Cross Guns. 71, we've got Lady Gorgeous. Number 82 is Cannonball Doll. Number 87 is Kim Scar Smashin. Sorry, Scar. Kim Scar Smashin. Number L8R or later is Goodbye Kitty. Number 91, that's Sugar Lynn. And number 89, that's Bozar, the Royal City Roller Girl Bootleggers. Again, the bootleggers, green and black with suspenders and pinstripes. And now we will have the B team for Toronto Roller Derby, the Bay Street Bruisers, being introduced. Wearing the navy and gold, number 747, that's Aims to Kill. Number 5678, that's Belfast. Number 1017, Bigly Smalls. Number 1000, the Canadian Psycho. Number 3E8, Speed Light, that's Speed Hawkins. Sinatra. Number 2, Furious Georgia. Number 76, Getcha Kicks. Number 2112, 2112, that is Rage in a Cage. Number 1, that is Titmouse. Wow, 416 Tommy Knockers, Z682 Downright Dirty Dawson, and filling in for the injured Robert Blind out with back spasms, it's number 35, Monochrome. Monochrome, sometimes a voice on the internet. I've called multiple games with her. She gets to skate tonight, I get to talk. So again, you are watching us on TORD TV. Mr. Force running the show, Tropic Thunder switching around. Mega Boosh helping out along with camera people. G-Force, Santilli in your face, and Uncivil Servant. Couldn't get my voice or these pictures onto the air without the help of everybody at TORD TV. So we'll give a little thanks to technical adjustment now that we have a second voice joining the crew. So we're going to get some headphones and stuff. Johnny and Mr. Force working hard to get things underway. And with the rolling whistle from Jam Timer Velocirainbow, we've got the indication that the jam is about to start. Number 14 or 1/4 Brass Balls taking the star for the green and black against Belfast 5678 for the Bruisers. Hyde racing forward, held up by Built Ford Ruff. Only one to beat, that's Lady Gorgeous. Lady Gorgeous tries to sit on her, unable to hold her back. Belfast is your lead jammer. Brass Balls being held in the pack. Foxy Sinatra, Getcha Kicks, doing a good job of cycling her through. At the front of the pack, that's number 416 Tommy Knockers, unable to hold Brass Brawls. Brass Brawls escapes. However, before she could do that, Belt the front of the pack, hands on the hips, fingers in the air by Jam Ref harassing forward, and that's 4-0 for the Bootleggers.
So,
sorry, for the Bruiser.
Guess what? I'm back here for just a few minutes. I figured that I'd let you call this whole thing on your own. And
that's what the plan was to begin with anyway.
Since I worked since 8 a.m. this morning, that maybe I would enjoy my first roller derby bout ever. But since I did punch the clock, I want to get paid.
Fair enough. Getcha Kicks wearing the star for the Bruisers, fighting her way through the front. She has one to beat. That's Babe Lestrange, who was jamming in the previous game, holding Getcha Kicks up, knocking her to the inside. Getcha Kicks cycle to the back. Meanwhile, Hellcat of Pinar, a tiny jammer from the Bootleggers, finds her way out the front. She's your lead jammer.
And she did hold that spot quite a few times back at the tournament in Guelph.
And Hellcat approaching the back of the back. Getcha kicks right on her tail. Hellcat having to call it off. Looking for fingers in the air. No ref X. Referee from Royal City.
So I'll tell you what I was doing in town. We were at the National Women's Show and was here with the VP of Sales of Holy Crap Cereal, which is a big sponsor of Canuck Derby TV and Roller Derby across Canada. And we were just doing some taste tests all day. So I invited her here to watch this bout, so I believe I should go do that now.
That's fair enough, Johnny. But
I might cut that a little bit later, folks.
Alrighty.
Enjoy the game.
We've got Hot Cross Guns wearing the star for the Broodleggers, getting knocked to the back by Canadian Psycho. Meanwhile, making her way out to front, that's number 1, Titmouse. Titmouse is your lead jammer. Titmouse all the way back around, tries to find a way through on the inside, doesn't quite make it all the way. Once again, Canadian Psycho and Hot Cross Guns making friends. Unfortunately for Hot Cross Guns, that friendship included a major track cut. That's going to be a trip to the box and on jam number 2, game 3 of this game. And Titmouse very vigorously wriggling her way through. Lady Gorgeous tried to knock her out, but Titmouse did not go out. That's Built Ford Ruff and Kim Skarmashian trying to prevent Titmouse from escaping out the front. Very nice bridging on the part of the Broodleggers, but Titmouse eventually pulls the blockers out of play, picking up 5 big roller derby points. John Maddening. Power jam continuing. Titmouse back moved by Tommy Knockers to clear Built Ford Ruff out of the way so that Titmouse could get through for another 5. Little disarray on the part of the Broodleggers, who have been isolated 2-on-2. Titmouse finds a seam on the outside. Lady Gorgeous able to push her out of bounds, but Titmouse quickly back in, able to continue. She's on the outside of the apex, not always where a jammer likes to be, but she quickly ducks to the inside. Ran up against the back of force. Hot Cross Guns quickly out of the penalty box through the pack. Titmouse wisely calling it off before Hot Cross Guns could manage to do any scoring. 5 more for the Bay Street Bruisers over the Broodleggers. 3 jams into this game. Power jams, as everyone in roller derby land knows, can kill. Looks like we've got Belfast versus Brass Brawls once again. First, we saw this matchup in the first jam of the game. Belfast getting the better of it. Still 5-on-5 roller derby. Only trip to the box so far has been the jammer in the previous jam. Belfast taking its Brawls down. Brass Brawls having to get up, having a bit of trouble with Speed and Hawkin and Slamo at the back of the pack. A nice solid wall of navy and gold keeping Brass Brawls on her knees. She's unable to get free. Meanwhile, the green and black blockers at the front of the pack were unable to contain Belfast. Belfast is your lead jammer. And as I say that, Brass Brawls has escaped. She's got half a pack to make up. Belfast is approaching the back. Goodbye Kitty was down. Her point was picked off easily. Belfast through the front. Or 4 more points for the Bruisers. Bruisers cruising away with this early on in the game, 28-2. Down, her point was picked off easily. Belfast through the front. Or 4 more points for the Bruisers. Bruisers cruising away with this early on in the game, 28-2. In their previous matchup, this is very similar to what happened. The Bruisers did a fine job of creating quite the lead, and then the Broodleggers made a very strong pushback in the latter third of the game, which brought the game to a very close score. We've got Getcha Kicks versus Hitchell among the jammers, and Getcha Kick using her stature to good advantage, getting past Kim Skarmashian, getting past Built Ford Ruff. And she's your lead jammer. Meanwhile, Brass Brawls has one person to, or sorry, Hellcat of Pinar had one person to beat. She succeeds in getting past downright Dirty Dawson. Getcha Kicks makes her way around, knocked out of bounds by Lady Gorgeous. Forced to call it off as Hellcat was cruising in quickly. Getcha Kicks held to 1 point. The defense starting to clamp down by the bootleggers. They don't want this game to get too far away from them. For this game, we have the announcer's best friend in the world, the official timeout. Skaters are, of course, all lined up out there. Speaking of official timeouts, let's discuss who the referees are for this game. We have head ref Penny Whistler, jammer refs Harrison Ford. Inside, I'm seeing Reffin' Adorable, and then Dave I Know, Lose Your Daddy, and Vita Briefus on the outside. Jam is underway. And at the front of the pack, Brass Brawls unable to get through ahead of Titmouse. Titmouse has a 10-foot lead on Brass Brawls. Titmouse, a speedy jammer, putting some distance between herself and Brawls. Brawls more of a rough and tumble jammer. Titmouse able in front of her, gets through the back of the green and black blockers and picks up the 2 points that were available to her, quickly calling it off. Nice timing on the part of Titmouse. So the Bay Street Bruisers again in navy and gold with a 31-2 lead over the green and black of the Bootleggers. Belfast, number 5678 for the Bruisers, going up against Hot Cross Guns, who went to the penalty box last time she was jamming. Lead over the green and black of the Bootleggers. Belfast, number 5678 for the Bruisers, going up against Hot Cross Guns, who went to the penalty box last time she was jamming. Number 38 for the Bootleggers. Hot Cross Guns trying to find a seam on the outside, hoping that Lady Gorgeous could find a way through that wall. Some blocker assistance, unable to do so. Meanwhile, we've got Belfast getting her third lead jammer status of the game. Belfast, very strong jammer on this team, has been from the beginning. Plays for the Death Track Dolls normally on her home team in the TORD, but has shown great skill and improvement as a Bay Street Bruiser. So Belfast, a standout. Hot Cross Guns has gotten out of the pack. Belfast is working her way through, hands on the hip, all 4 fingers in the air. I guess he technically has 5, but she could only get 4. I wonder what the procedure is for a jam ref that doesn't have all of their fingers. This is something I will have to go on Zebra Huddle and check out what the procedure is for that. Anyways, Harrison Ford indicated 4 points for the Bruisers. They extend their lead to 35-2. 21 minutes to go in the first half of this game. And once again, we've got Getcha Kicks, 76 for the Bruisers, up against the Hellcat of Pinar. Hellcat really hung up with the back. Speed and Hawking aims to kill, doing a great job of blocking. Goodbye Kitty and Babe Lestrange. We're doing a little out-of-play blocking on Getcha Kicks. Getcha Kicks gets lead jammer, and Babe Lestrange goes to the box. Hellcat of Pinar has been released from the pack. Getcha Kicks gets through, picks off the rearmost blocker, Sugarlin. And Getcha Kicks picked up all 4 points, and I'm seeing the fingers, thumbs heading towards the shoulder of Penny Whistler. She may want an official timeout. Gonna need to clear some things up that happened in that previous jam. 39-2 for the Bay Street Bruisers over the Royal City Roller Girl Bootleggers. B team versus travel team. Toronto, again, has been in existence for a long time. This B team has not been in existence for a long time. This is its first year. And one of their first games that they played was against the Bootleggers. Their very first game was actually against Ohio Roller Girls Gang Green, which they had a very admirable showing when Ohio Roller Girls showed up in Canada, Toronto and Tri-City, Kitchener-Waterloo, to play a pair of games in a weekend back in May. So the very first game was against a very tough B team, and they showed that they had the skills. The bench coach, the Derby Nerd, often on the stream with me as well, writes a lovely column. If you haven't read the Derby Nerd's column, that he keeps people up to date on the world of roller derby, it's well worth the read. And he has been joined on the bench by Flying Brian Kilman, who normally coaches for the Chicks Ahoy, the home team in Toronto Roller Derby that has won the boot 2 years in a row. Chicks Ahoy very strong. They will be a very different team next year as they lose many of their players to skate only on CN Power. Jam underway. Titmouse she's your lead jammer. Titmouse was almost free but fell down, cycled back into the pack. She's going to have to make her way all the way through again. Built Ford Ruff with a big hit, Rage in the cage, knocking Built Ford Ruff out. Lots of chaos in that pack, allowing Titmouse to get out the front. Meanwhile, Brass Brawls has made it through and is going to put points up on the board. Only only Tommy Knockers to beat. And Brass Brawls calls it off. We're going to see if she got all four. No, point. Valuable skill on the part of a blocker, able to save that final point, holding the jammer from the Bootleggers to only 3. Bootleggers at 5. Bay Street Bruisers at 39. Jammer from the Bootleggers to only 3. Bootleggers at 5. Bay Street Bruisers at 39. And we're about to get another jam out of the way. Bay Street Bruisers taking a knee so that we can get a no pack right away. Get the second whistle blown. Belfast versus Hot Cross Guns. Hot Cross Guns not having a lot of success so far. Belfast having a ton of success. Only the pivot Cannonball Doll to beat. She had already gotten her hips past the short and then escaped the pack. And Hot Cross Guns getting beat up by the ladies in navy and gold. And she is free, but not before Belfast blows her way through and calls off the jam. So nice, tight, hit it and quit it roller derby on the part of the Bay Street Bruisers. I mentioned in the previous broadcast, I believe, that the Bay Street Bruisers will be traveling with the CN Power, the WFTDA charter team, to Grand Rapids, Michigan to take on Grand Raggedy Patak, a very tough B team, in their first travel game outside of the country of Canada. Number 76, Getcha Kicks, once again against a Hellcat of Pinar. Getcha Kicks, looking for angles and edges that she can use to move people out of the way. She's got the size to be able to do it. She's successful once again. Hellcat of Pinar unable to use her nimbleness and agility to get through that solid blocking wall of the Bruisers. Hellcat knocked down to the inside once again by Monochrome. She is through the pack and 5 fingers go in the air. That is what we call in roller derby a natural grand slam. Big hit in the pack on Hellcat of Pinar. I believe that was Foxy Sinatra just popping her shoulder back, sending Hellcat flying. And Hellcat has been sent to the penalty box. We are on a power jam. Getcha Kicks. She had already put a fair number of points up on the board. We're going to see with the 45 seconds left in this jam how many more she can do. And Forza being held at the back. Whoa, Getcha Kicks going to the box for a track cut. Nice work at the front by the Bootleggers to force that track cut. That will neutralize some of the damage that she was doing during this jam. Not sure there's going to be enough time for Hellcat to get out of the box and get around twice. She was not on her scoring pass yet. Only 15 seconds left in the jam, but she will get out there and hustle. Lady Gorgeous trying to open a seam on the outside. Rage in the cage. Foxy Sinatra unable to stop her, but there is not enough time for Hellcat to get around. Even with that very nice effort on her part, Bootleggers are going to walk away with 0 on that jam. Bay Street Bruisers move their way up to 54 points to 5 for the Bootleggers. 16 minutes to go in the first half of the second game at the Bunker in Downsview Park, Toronto, Ontario. To 5 for the Bootleggers. 16 minutes to go in the first half of the second game at the Bunker in Downsview Park, Toronto, Ontario. Bootlegger starting on a need, trying to get this power jam underway quickly. Brass Brawls, former rugby player, will be jamming for them. fighting her way through the scrum starts. Scrums are something that she would be used to, having played rugby. But the Bruisers are showing the tenacity that they have in their blocking. Slamwow, the only skater to beat. Slamwow trying to force it to the outside, unable to contain her. Brass Brawls is lead jammer, but the Bootleggers did not notice that the jam or the penalty was over for the jammer from the Bruisers. Getcha kicks out of the pack and through. All off the jam, no points from either jammer ref. The score remains 54-5 with under 15 minutes to go in the first half of this game. Remains 54-5 with under 15 minutes to go in the first half of this game. And we've got 5-on-5 roller derby, I believe, or we might be missing. No, we got 5-on-5 roller derby. I love 5-on-5 roller derby. Hardly any penalties in this game, really. In fact, I've seen one penalty, and that was the last penalty to Getcha Kicks. That was the first penalty the Bruisers have had in this first 15 minutes of this game. However, Hot Cross Guns is your lead jammer for the Bootleggers. Titmouse with a fantastic spread eagle rotation through turn number 3, surviving a hit, staying in bounds, showing great control. Hot Cross Guns is in the pack, picking up points, but if Titmouse had not been able to pull off that maneuver, this could have been more dangerous. Bootleggers through. Hot Cross Gun calls it off, picks up 4, but not before Titmouse picks up 1. So that fantastic spread eagle skate ends up netting the Bruisers a point on the jam, moves them to 55. 9 for the Bootleggers. Game still well within reach from the ladies from Guelph, but the Bruisers looking very strong in the first half of this first half. Belfast versus the Hellcat of Pinar. Belfast wearing the gold and navy. Hellcat of Pinar wearing the green and black. Ties versus suspenders. Belfast shrugs off a hit from Sugarlin, gets past Goodbye Kitty and gets lead jammer. Hellcat of Pinar has been knocked out of bounds on turn number 2. Professor Rex, the coach of the Bootleggers, throwing up his hands in dismay. Hellcat of Pinar going down hard again after another big hit. 5 points to Belfast. Looks like somebody's going off for a penalty. A back block to Bigley Smalls, number 10-17. Hellcat of Pinar still stuck in the pack. Belfast going for another scoring pass. Sugarlin tripping on the inside line. Sugarlin picking up a low block for her efforts. Speed and Hawken going over top of her. Looks like Babe Lestrange is also going to the box. So just as I say, it's been a fairly clean game. The players start going to the box in droves. Belfast picking up another 5. Hellcat of Pinar really being hung up by those Bruisers. That's Furious Georgia and Speed and Hawken just doing a number on Hellcat of Pinar, and Belfast getting past Cannonball Doll, showing her strength as a jammer, picking up another 5 points. Hellcat finally out of the box. And we had a Bruiser go to the box. I will see if I can pick out who that was. Belfast hands on the hips. 5 more points in the air, indicated by Harrison Ford. And the Bay Street Bruisers move up to 75. She put 20 points up on the board during that jam. Not a power jam either. 75-9. Belfast showing why she is one of the strongest new jammers in Toronto Roller Derby. And wisely, with the score starting to run away on them, Professor X and Dr. Ninja AF call a timeout for the Bootleggers. They need to get their ladies in green reorganized so that they can mount a run against the Bootleggers. And quite honestly, the Bootleggers have been running away with it in the first 18 minutes of this game, 75-9. And I did mention that it was the score is quite, this game has run quite similar to the way the first time these two teams met. They played back in July on the 7th. The Bootleggers won 153 to 176. So it was a 23-point win. But the last 10 minutes of that game was quite nail-biting. The Bootleggers made a mad rush to close the gap. But the Bruisers had built enough of a cushion that they were able to walk away with the victory. And once again, the Bootleggers have allowed them to increase the lead. It's now 66 points. And with 11.5 minutes to go in the first half, Getcha Kicks wearing the star again against Brass Brawls. Two very tough and physical jammers. Very light pack, 2-on-2. Lady Gorgeous and Built Ford Ruff skating forward. No pack indicated by head ref Penny Whistler. Velocity Rainbow releases the jammers and Brass Brawls gets through on the inside. Getcha Kicks not very far behind. Getcha Kicks closing the gap quickly. The Bootleggers are going to see if they can pick off a blocker at the back. That's number 1017, Bigley Smalls. Babe Lestrange has been released from the box. Sugarland is out of the box as well. Whistles were blown. No points indicated. Double fists in the air. So Getcha Kicks able to track Brass Brawls down and force her to call it off. Nice work on the part of the jammer from the Bruisers. And we're going to work with nimble, agile jammers this time. We've got Titmouse for the Bruisers. And number 38, Hot Cross Guns for the Bootleggers. Hot Cross Guns tipping toes her way through her own wall and finds the gap in the Bruisers. She is your lead jammer at the front. Titmouse fighting with Goodbye Kitty. We've got an out-of-play chopping happening. And Goodbye Kitty is heading to the box for an out-of-play major. Held Titmouse up a bit too long. Titmouse was released. And looks like Professor Rex is indicating he wants Hot Cross Guns to keep skating. Not sure that is the best call in the world against a skater like Titmouse. Titmouse, lots of endurance, lots of speed, able to compete with the likes of Hot Cross Guns. She made it through the pack quickly. Oh! Big hit by Monochrome, knocking Hot Cross Guns to the outside. Hot Cross Guns goes down hard on her back. We will have to see if there's an injury on this or if she's okay. She landed flat on her back. I hope she did not hit her head. As we know, concussions are a dangerous part of this game. And 2 points were indicated on that. So it was a net of 2 for the Bootleggers. Hot Cross Guns indicating that she's okay. I do not believe, no, they did stop the time, so she is going to have to sit out for 3 jams, I believe, because the time was stopped because of her injury. I think she just had the wind knocked out of her. She just needs a little bit of time. She's feeling her back. That big hit by Monochrome, sending her to the outside and forcing her to call it off. Luckily, she had the presence of mind to call it off. So we're going to see Brass Brawls number 1/4 or 14 in Refland versus 5, 6, 7, 8 Belfast for the Bruisers. 4-on-3 pack advantage for the Bruisers. Seeing Tommy Knockers and Canadian Psycho. Downright Dirty Dawson. Number Z682 also out there. And if I can see through the line, that is Foxy Sinatra. Foxy Sinatra, a blocker that the Derby Nerd is very high on. Very impressed at the work that she has done during her practices. Figures that she will be a big addition to this team. The Bruisers sporting a new look roster. They lost Chronic and Ballerina to the charter team earlier this year. So they have added Canadian Psycho, Bigley Smalls, Foxy Sinatra, and Tommy Knockers. So these are those skaters' first games as Bruisers, and they have been doing a great job. Belfast quickly picking up lead jammer Kim Skarsmashian, trying to pursue her but unable to catch the speed of number 5, 6, 7, 8, and trapped in the pack. Brass Brawls getting repeated hits put on her by Tommy Knockers. Belfast finding a nice seam on the inside, picking up 5 big points. Brass Brawls looking a little worn out from the beating she's been taking. Foxy Sinatra sending her to the back. Meanwhile, there's Belfast trying to find her way through the middle. Brass Brawls has broken free of the pack. Belfast had picked up her point already and picked up 5 points, 10 points on that jam for Belfast. And as we head under the 8.5-minute mark left in the first half, the Bruisers extend their lead to 89-15 over the Bootleggers. And if you watch the first game, you will notice that the jammer on the line for the Bootleggers is number 100, Babe Lestrange, the high-risk, high-reward jammer. Had some good jams, but had some trips to the box. She's going up against Getcha Kicks. Both of these are very physical jammers, like to blast their way through packs. That's Aims to Kill in Furious Georgia, keeping Babe Lestrange at the back of the pack. Getcha Kicks trying to pick her way through the front. This pack is really getting stretched out. Getcha Kicks manages to get past Sugar Lynn. Babe Lestrange still being trapped by the Navy and Gold Furious Georgia. And it ends up having Babe Lestrange go over top of her. Babe Lestrange only one to beat, Aims to Kill, unable, swing and a miss to contain her in the pack. Getcha Kicks going up against Hellcat Apinar. Hellcat blocking Sugar Lynn and Cannonball Doll for the Bootleggers, trying to stop Getcha Kicks from picking up any more points. Hands on the hips, we're going to see Derby Nerd calls for 3. Harrison Ford gives him the 3 that he called for. That means she made it past the hips of 3 blockers on the Bootleggers. 3 more points for the Bruisers. And we're going to get 92-15 with under 7 minutes to go in the first half of this game. Bruisers again playing very disciplined roller derby, only picking up 3 penalties so far. 3 major penalties in the first half of this game. And we're going to see Titmouse versus Hot Cross Guns. Titmouse makes her way through her own wall, up against the front green wall, wriggling her way through. Lady Gorgeous trying to contain her, Built Ford Rough trying to contain her. Titmouse gets past all of them. She's your lead jammer. And Hot Cross Guns getting a number done on her. That's Canadian Psycho that fired her through. Nice skip over a downed player. That was Foxy Sinatra, who was down on the ground. Hot Cross Guns managed to avoid her. And Titmouse, track cut issued to Built Ford Rough. Titmouse getting through the front of the pack. 5 fingers in there. 5 more points on the board for the Bay Street Bruisers from Toronto Roller Derby. And the Bruisers have really been able to contain Hot Cross Guns, Canadian Psycho, and Tommy Knockers doing some nice vertical blocking. Hot Cross Guns finally gets out of the pack, but not before Titmouse gets through one more time. And Kim Skarsmashian knocking Titmouse to the outside. She has to call it off, but not before she picks up all 4 points. 5 minutes to go in the first half of this game. 101 for the Bay Street Bruisers, 15 for the Bootleggers. Bootleggers have been suffering from the wrath of the Derby gods lately. They have had a lot of injuries, lots of concussions on their team, so a fair number of players playing their first game with the Bootleggers as well in this game. Belfast getting lead jammer for the Bruisers. Brass Brawl still stuck in the pack. So this is the first game for Babe Lestrange, Stabby Road, Mangles the Clown, and Sugar Lynn. First game on the travel team. And they have come up against it. Goodbye Kitty with a sliding hit out of bounds on Belfast. Belfast gets up before Kitty does, and Belfast is right back in there picking up points. And we've got an out of play on Slamtastic Slamwow. Brawls managed to get out of the pack. Belfast had picked up 5 more points though. That's going to move the Bruisers up to 106. Bootleggers at 15 still. So a 91-point lead for the Bruisers with 3 minutes and 44 seconds to go in the first half. Monochrome taking the place of Foxy Sinatra on the track. Bruisers keeping it on their feet. And Bootleggers want things to get going. They start on a knee. Getcha Kicks versus Babe Lestrange. Babe Lestrange looking for an inside track. She runs into Monochrome. Getcha Kicks with the only Cannonball Doll to beat, but Cannonball Doll picks. Cannonball Doll is going to be picking up a no. Looks like the low block was called on Getcha Kicks. Low block going to the box. That means Babe Lestrange is your lead jammer, and this is a power jam. Pretty much exactly what the Bootleggers needed. And we have chaos on the track. Bad things happened. Okay, so if you were watching that, we had Babe Lestrange go down, and the helmet panty fell off. The helmet panty technically not on her head when she called off the jam. She was attempting to call off the jam, did not realize the jammer panty was not on her head. Her jammer ref, seeing the hands moving but not noticing that the panty had fallen off, calls off the jam. So the question now will be, will she be given an illegal procedure for calling off the jam when she did not have the panty on her head? Because technically you can't call off the jam.
Hello.
Hey, Johnny Kaput.
I'm back again. So, what's going on with this scoreline?
Score in this game? Yeah, you know, it's 106 to 15. The Bootleggers like to spot everybody 100 points before they really like to play.
It doesn't seem to be the same scoreline I saw in Guelph.
No, it's the Bootleggers are sort of debuting some newer players, I think, and are sort of getting back into form. And I think the Bruisers have really taken it to them. Bruisers are going on a road trip next weekend down to Grand Raggedy, so I think they're using this as a sort of a warm-up.
I did notice some of their veterans were sitting on the other side, opposite the benches here. Is that injuries or just sitting up?
Yes, there are a fair number of injuries. The Archbishop Slamterberry is down with back problems. You got Ginger Slaughters with concussion issues. Cherry Pancakes also with concussion issues. Spunky the Hot Shamali also with concussion issues. We've had some injury problems in Guelph these days. One of the skaters that is not injured, and it's good to see her back on the track because there was a jam where it looked like she might not get back up. That's Hot Cross Guns as lead jammer.
Looking good
for the Bootleggers.
Yep.
And this remains a power jam for Guelph. Hot Cross Guns running up against Slamwow and Bigley Smalls. Furious Georgia getting a hit on her as well. And down goes the tree. That's Speedin' Hawkin with the final hit. And now a little more vigorous blocking on the part of the Bootleggers provides a bit of a distraction. Means that the blockers for the Bruisers didn't have only one target to hit. And that means Hot Cross Guns puts 5 points up on the board.
Yeah, she can keep going because the other jammer's not out yet.
Yeah, Getcha Kicks had been released from the box, just made it through on her first pass, not on a scoring pass. That means Hot Cross Guns can get through going down hard. That was Bigley Smalls. Derby Nerd wondering if there should have been a penalty. No calls by the Stripes. And the Bootleggers put 9 points up on the board.
So are they like is it a second half team now or?
They are always a second half team. It's something that we've been working very hard to get them moving. However, they also have an issue in that Babe Lestrange, Stabby Road, Forza, and Mangles a Clown played in the first game today as well.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
And as if playing 2 roller derby games in a day is not enough, we had Brass Brawls, Forza, Hellcat Up on our Hot Cross Guns, Lady Gorgeous, and Goodbye Kitty all competed in the Wellington Warrior Challenge today, which was a 5-minute survival race. So,
well, you don't get to play that often during a year here in Canada, so you might as well take advantage of the situations.
So yeah, roller derby just not tiring enough for them. Foxy Sinatra is sent back to the bench. Pivot was in the box, so Foxy Sinatra, wearing the pivot panty, was told to return to the bench. Brass Brawls trying to fight a way through here. Titmouse coming up against Goodbye Kitty. Brass Brawls with lead jammer and picking up 5 points. The Broodleggers having some success in the dying minutes of this half, much like the Hurloins in the game before them. I don't necessarily consider it a great strategy to give the other team 25 minutes to score as many points as they can and then try to come back, but Bootleggers are doing what they can to bring this game back to a reasonable level. With 54 seconds left, there's no time left on the period clock, and that means that jam was the last jam of the first half of this game. Brass Brawls picking up 2 more points, getting the Bootleggers up to 31. Bay Street Bruisers doing the majority of the scoring in that half, though. 106 for the B team from Toronto, Johnny Capt.
And there you go. It doesn't look like that 20-point difference we saw in Guelph. Is that right? It was 20 points, if I remember right?
Yeah, it was like 23 points. If you watch the first 20 minutes of that game, it looked pretty similar to this game. And then the Bootleggers really poured it on for the last 20 minutes. But to be fair, that was only the Bruisers' second game ever.
Okay.
And I think they have really gelled in that time. And this is a much tougher Bruisers team, I think, that even with losing, I mean, they lost one of their top blockers in Chronic. They lost one of their top jammers in Ballerina. But there is a lot of depth in Toronto Roller Derby.
I do remember in the early days that the Neon Green of Montreal would give up a big lead before coming back too. So maybe it's a good sign.
It's something that needs to be learned. All right. I was joined by Johnny Capt on the microphone in the first half of that game. 106 for the Bruisers, 31 for the Bootleggers. I'm Captain Lou Bammo, and TORD TV is going to take a 20-minute halftime break before we come back with the second half of this game. We'll see you soon.
Bye now.